Welcome back, everybody. My name is Mr. Reality from At Reality Forecast, and I'm joined with Liz Cross. How are you this morning, Liz?
Oh, I'm just so privileged to be doing these channelings of famous artists. I love it.
They're fun. I enjoy their reflection, their insight, their knowledge. Can we bring up George Seurat?
Yes, yes, I have him here.
Hey, Mr. Seurat, thanks for joining us. Tell me about your life.
Very troubled, very complicated. Always had lots of affairs, very experimental on that affair front. That's the polite way of saying it. Extremely difficult person on when he was on the earth plane. But that's part of what made him so great. He had a very large ego as well.
Did you have affairs with both men and with women?
No, just women, but like to push the boundaries.
Okay. You were very, I don't know, interested in pointillism and color theory. So talk to me about what your interpretation of paintings is from a color theory perspective.
Well, again, he's really just very experimental. And these weren't easy paintings to pull off, right? He had loads and loads of dud paintings, which just he would set fire to. Actually, I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I'd throw him on the fire. I was so angry. So he spent many, many hours painting, refining. He was always unsatisfied. A lot of times, those around him would have to step in and really try to convince him that his artwork was something to be shown to the outside world. Very much a perfectionist, very hard on himself with regards to his paintings.
This is Sunday afternoon at La Grande, the one that probably gets the most notoriety, and he spent a lot of time on it. What was he trying to convey with not showing people's faces in the painting? There's been some debate.
Because it wasn't about their faces. Oftentimes, people focus too much on the face and not the scenery. And it was about trying to focus on the scenery as opposed to the face. A lot of times when we look at people's faces, he's telling me we study them, sometimes even for hours upon hours. What were they thinking? What are they doing? And he wanted to move away from that, where this was really a shift from portraiture to trying to focus on other things other than the person themselves.
Almost like looking at a tree in the forest versus the whole forest.
Right, exactly. And it was more about what people were doing as opposed to who they are, what they're thinking, and the mystery behind the person.
Did he keep any diaries or letters that we might be able to find in the future someday?
Many, many diaries, many letters. He had brilliant penmanship, he says. And he used to write to a lot of his women. Love letters.
Will any of those personal hidden diaries be found in the future?
No, he used a different name. He had a sort of like a pseudo name. It's very French. He's trying to tell me because I knew that would be your next question.
Is it Pierre Delecto? No, that's someone else.
No, it's more of a Jacques.
Did his deteriorating, he died early, 31 years old. Can you tell us what the cause of his death was and why such a short life?
He's saying consumption.
I've read diphtheria. I thought syphilis. I don't know which it was.
Did you die of syphilis? No. He died of something with it was like a lung issue, like a pneumonia. He's calling it consumption. I don't even know what consumption is. I'm sorry.
You're a drinker.
Ah, well, but hold on. In Europe, consumption is defined as something else. So
Oh,
yeah. So consumption, pulmonary tuberculosis. See, he told me lung. He was pointing to his lungs. His lungs were filled with fluid, like a pneumonia.
can you share some insights about painting in your early life, like your childhood as the youngest of three kids?
It was a way to withdraw himself from the family. He would lose himself in his drawings, in his paintings. That he was it was like an obsession. I feel like I don't think he comes from a poor family.
They're
I'm
well
not saying, are they very wealthy?
well to do.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that, but he's telling me. And there was a lot of drinking, and there was a lot of debauchery, and there was a lot of arguing, a lot of mother chasing the father around and arguing and like throwing things. So this was the way he escaped that.
Does he have any contact with other artists on the other side?
Yes, he does.
Talk to me about those instances and those meetings.
I feel like he was a very good friend of mine here on the earth plane. And they meet on a regular basis. In fact, in other lives, they have been brothers. They've actually been twins in other lives. So I feel like there's a very close soul connection with another male.
And can you bring in other people that are not in your soul family into your, I guess you can.
Yes, you can. And that leads me to another point. A different question along the same lines, but can we actually, is there any rejection between souls in the spirit world? And that's a no. So even though someone wronged you here on the earth plane, when we're in the spirit world, we don't enforce those boundaries of hatred, rejection, defensive. Those don't exist up there. It's very much all about a world of love and peace and joy, and it's a recharging of the batteries. We've gotten that before. But as far as like a soul refusing to talk to another one because of a wrong here on the earth plane, no. Which I know that will surprise a lot of people, because some people had such terrible experiences, especially with family members here on the earth plane, that and I've had this in readings, which is they say, when I get up there, I'm never speaking to, I don't know, their dad or their brother or their sister or whatever. And just from that answer, we're getting, well, actually, we don't reject one another up there at all.
Talk to me about the death of your son at an early age. How did he die? And what was that like?
He was saying that it was a form of, it was an illness, and that was devastating for him. But again, his artwork was an escape mechanism. So he would just he faced a difficult issue or times of trouble, his therapy or the way he dealt with it was by painting and drawing.
What advice would you give to the art world to better understand your works and your life?
It's about living in the moment. It's not about the past or future. It's about the now. This is what is happening now. These are, and it was also like a historical document. You know, this is what people were doing at this particular time. Are we still doing the same things now as humanity is moving into the future?
What does he think about AI art?
He says it makes me want to throw up.
How so?
Because it's superficial, it's not real, and it's not even, there's no emotional attachment to it. It's just commanding a computer what you want to see. And he says, I'm not looking forward to existing in a world where computers are conveying feelings of humans instead of humans conveying it for themselves.
Let's take that out 50 years from the point of view of George Seurat. What impact has that had on the emotional psyche of the public?
We've become more disconnected. We're becoming more narcissistic. We're lacking empathy. We are suffering a lot more mental health issues, but we don't know why. We've lost the basis that it's all about human bonding and human connection.
Does he see any way people can protect themselves from that?
One way is having a parent that stays home and is involved. You know, you can have parents that stay home, but it's like, go play. You know what I mean? Like, it's not doing things together. He's very passionate about food, he says. And he says food and sex are just like the most wonderful emotional experiences that people can have. And it's about making food with your children. That's very connecting. You know, baking with your children, painting with your children, talking about things with your children, not staring at your iPads, your phones. It's about being like his paintings are portraying. It's about being in the moment, being present with that other person instead of physically being present, but your consciousness or your focus is elsewhere.
Does he have a house over there?
In the spirit world,
Yeah.
no.
What do you do? What do you do with your time?
We plan. So, whereas like things take a long time or they seemingly take, I don't know about you guys, but you know, some people say, oh, life is so long and difficult. To me, life is just passing by in a flash,
Oh,
right?
yesterday it was Friday, and then like tomorrow it's Friday. Yeah, it's quick.
Right. I mean, it's really like we're almost at the end of 2023. I mean, this year has flown by, even with all of its complications, and it's time just seems to be flying by. Well, that's our perception as human beings. It's actually time is a lot faster in the spirit world than what it is down here. So where we think is, oh, well, somebody's not going to reincarnate for 100 years, he says that's like a flash up there. So our concept of time is extremely different than their concept. It's actually just a mathematical drawing out, but it's very quick.
Does he believe that the study of color could have an effect on healing certain conditions?
Absolutely. There's certain colors that enhance certain moods, and there's certain colors that bring about very troubled and difficult emotions. So if you're wanting to process emotions, you would align yourself to even staring at particular color or colors that can bring about those difficult emotions. And then you have to pick through, like, why do I feel this way? And similarly, with positive emotions, it's all about the individual and which colors they resonate with. Lots of people have different favorite colors, and the reason they have those colors is because most of the time it brings out a feeling of pleasure or joy. But if you actually look at the colors, like a lot of people are adverse to brown. Why? And he's saying to me, like, pick through, like, why do you feel repulsed by that? And a lot of people will say, well, it represents certain things. But you have to really start picking through as to why you would believe this color would be repulsive.
And how do you change that feeling towards that color in your own physical body? What do you have to do?
Well, you start processing difficult emotions, because the the real idea behind those colors is it's a color of the universe, right? So everything in the universe, even though it may seem repulsive, it may seem disgusting, or even events in the universe that repulses and are disgusting and make us sad and bring out these terrible emotions, you have to ask yourself why. What is it that you align with in that color or that event? Why is that causing such a deep emotional reaction? I'll give you an example. And he says he gave this example to me, but he's right. So for most of us, especially those with children, right? School shootings. And the closer they are to home, the more emotional we become. So there was a particular school shooting that everybody wanted me to probe the school shooter or channel the school shooter, probe the parents. And I'm like, I can't touch that, guys, because it's just too close to home. And it's about assessing why. Why did I have that reaction? Well, because it can deeply hurt. So these events can deeply hurt different people. Same with, like, terrorism or volcanoes erupting or fires or whatever. Why is it that I'm having this reaction, and how does that reaction make me a better person? Why? Well, I can tell you from my own experience that school shootings, like, first of all, I want to kill the shooter if they don't kill themselves already, right? And that's a natural reaction that any parent would have. But it
I think
also makes
in
me,
general, yeah.
yeah, but it also makes us, but look on the other side of this, because then we become, we hold our kids just that little bit tighter, and we become more appreciative. So even though there are a lot of bad circumstances that go on that we are witness to, or we may even be victims of, it it still stirs this deep appreciation after we pick through those difficult emotions of, wow, we sure are lucky that we get to hold our kids
Right.
tonight.
So
And yeah, so that's the same with the color wheel.
through every negative, you're looking for what is the net cause positive effect of that negativity. I see. I wanted to ask him if he can move ahead like 20, 30, 40 years in the future and see if color application has been used or is being used towards certain physical conditions.
Ooh, well, first thing that came through was that there are different new colors, and that's because of AI. So AI is creating new colors. So we're going to have a lot more colors than what we're used to now. It can mix different combinations of colors, some very, very beautiful colors to come out into the future. And sorry, what was that question?
Color theory or color healing, is that popular in 30, 15, 40 years?
No, it's far too advanced. This is amazing. So he's like saying, in the future, we're looking for computers to diagnose and solve all of our problems. So we're moving away from more of these in-depth psychological, critical thinking discussions. Instead, we're asking the computer to fix us, right? To find a technique that fixes, but you're asking a non-emotional entity to connect with a human psyche and emotional well-being and bring that forward. And so we're going to end up lost in this scenario for probably 20, 30 years, for a very long time. And we figure, well, this isn't working. So now we've got to go back to old school connectivity. So I'm looking out at like 2080, 2090. And that's when we start this reverse course back into trying to connect. But that's only for now. This is a problem. So people on the poorer level, on the lower end of the financial spectrum, they won't have this luxury because obviously they're wanting to heal on a mass level and it's not working. So now you're asking people to take time out, like an hour or two, to sit with a person and try to heal them. And that's going to be extremely costly in the future. So again, that's going to be something that is reserved for people in higher percentages of earning.
If Seurat could make or create a portrait of healing and color healing specifically, can he tell us what that painting would look like?
These are excellent questions. Everybody, Ronan's tip jar is down in the comment field. I'm sorry, Ron. I know you don't like that, but hey, guys, these questions are excellent. I mean, you got to give him credit where credit's due. Buy him a coffee. What would what would it look like if you were to, lots of yellows, vibrant yellows, whites, peach color, lots of oranges. And he would like to do it from, we're moving from the dark into the light, right? So on a healing scale, and he says that's what we do. We move from darkness to light. We have to go through the dark to get to the white light. And so he would take us on this journey of like deep oranges and reds, and then going into more yellows, fading into white. That's amazing.
What is the scenery like in that portrait?
It's more focusing on the color, not so much as scenery. It's just as is, because you don't want to get distracted and lose your focus by focusing on scenery instead of looking inward. God, he is so amazing. Wow.
So would it be more like a Monet later in his life?
Um, no, because in Monet, you're still trying to make out the images. This is to not have any imagery. You would just have color with no imagery. So no, hills in the background, no, Japanese gardens, water gardens, or anything like that. It would just be the stark reality of the colors, but using pointillism, right? So it's not so in your face, but the stark reality of the colors really evoking difficult emotional responses, you processing those emotional responses, and then you moving over into the white light.
What perspectives have you gained in the afterlife?
that each lifetime is pretty insignificant. And the most you can do, or the best you can do, is try to be as significant as possible to impact as many as possible in the short space of time that we're here.
How would you suggest people do that in today's increasingly disposable society?
Connecting, letting people know that you do care about what they're going through, and about showing concern, caring for others, being a listening ear. The more we move away from that, see, everybody wants to spill their toxic waste, right? Spew it and spill it and offload it onto others. But even that becomes a very hard thing to do if there's no one on the receiving end, because again, it's an energy exchange, right? We're offloading toxic, traumatic, by talking. Women do that a lot. We talk all the time, right? Guys, not so much. Sorry. But we're offloading, we're spewing that toxic waste bucket, and we're looking for a comforting word or a friend who is listening, but we're moving away from that. It's becoming this really self-serving environment, this society. And therefore, by spewing all of that information, and a lot of times we give that information out, but in the hopes that we're helping others. Well, looking into the future, that's going to really taper off. I went through this trauma. A lot of times people will write it in books, as we've done in future probes. Books are diminishing in the future. It's going to go audio. So it's about sharing these experiences, but as we're sharing the experience, we need a reciprocated response of, I actually do care, and I am concerned what happens to you, and that you've had to go through this, and how can I help you through this issue? And that's really effective as far as leaving your mark on the earth plane.
Can he suggest how people should contemplate their own essence and death while physically alive?
I mean, that's something you should always reevaluate, right? A lot of times, especially with toxic people, he's telling me that they don't want to think about death, right? Because funerals and other people dying around them, it's really just crying over their own mortality. That's a really interesting statement he just made. And they don't really think about righting the wrongs or apologizing. They just keep blazing on this trail of destruction right up to the second they die. But he's saying this is something that we all should evaluate and reevaluate time and time again. It's never anything more than how you made someone feel.
If he were to paint something on the continuation of the soul, can he describe what that looks like after death?
It almost looks like a comet, is what he's showing me, like a comet, floating through the spirit world and looking to connect and plan the next lifetime. It's the never-ending comet. The comet never burns out.
What's his next lifetime look like? And when's it coming?
He's going to be female. Can you believe that? He's going to be female. He's going to be a mother. and an art teacher, and a very dedicated art teacher. And he also is not going to want for money. You know, a lot of times people go into teaching and it's not very well paid. Actually, with the way we pay our teachers is really bad, right? There's like some of the most important people that our kids come into contact with, and I don't know, you know, we just pay them terribly. And so a lot of the good ones who want to stay and be effective, they can't. And he's telling me, but I won't have to worry about money in the next lifetime. So he will just be able to be dedicated to being a teacher, to being a mother, to being a provider, and really bringing out as much creativity as he can in the future generations. He's so looking forward to that. Will this be in Europe? No. I feel like he's going to reincarnate over here in this. Oh, he's telling me Canada. Okay, so he's going to Canada.
All right. Well,
I'm like, are
enjoy
you
your
going to
time up there.
Quebec? I'm like, are you going to Quebec since you're French? And he's laughing at me, and he is.
All
Wow.
right. Thank you so much, Mr. Seurat. I've got your portrait downstairs. It's nice to see. And thank you for the inspiration that you've given to all of us here. Liz, thanks for being a bridge to the other side for everybody.
Wow, this was my pleasure. You know, we learned so much from channeling these different influential people. Oh, it's just amazing what we learned. Look at all that stuff we learned on the color and the perspective of the afterlife. I tell you, I just wish I had more time. I would do this all day long. You know, you guys would get like 10, 15 videos a day. And but unfortunately there, you know, I still have to do my other things that I do. And so do you. And that's a shame because we would be geniuses by the end of this from what we learned.
Thanks so much. Good seeing you, everybody. We'll catch you next time.